The White Porch Conversations.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the White Porch for White Porch Conversations. It is a beautiful day, so I was gonna wear the sunglasses today. Marilyn was just talking about how this is like the perfect day. She works in an office. She says, man, I don't even want to go back and sit in the office. It is just so nice out here. She's talking about the Bradford pears behind us blowing in the wind, and those petals coming off those trees look like it's snowing, and then you got the lawnmower in the background. It's just springtime. And so, like, listen, I know Aaron, he doesn't like all the distracting noises, but I don't know. There's something about the lawnmower in the background right now. It feels like the white porch. I mean, it just does. It feels like you're sitting on a white porch having conversations, and that's what we're here to do. And we're here with somebody that we love so much. In fact, I can remember the very first time that I was able to have an encounter with this awesome lady. This is Marilyn. Now Marilyn Moon. I still want to call you by your maiden name. It is always hard for me to trade to make that exchange in my mind when women get married and you knew them one way for so long, and then you have to start calling them by a different last name. So you're Marilyn Moon.
Marilyn Moon.
And so man, it is like I said, it's so awesome to look back and to see the very first time I met you. You and your mom were there at church for that first time, and you came down to that altar. And you just had such an incredible experience that day. And then from then, you started coming to hang out at our home some with some of our small group stuff and getting involved at the church, you and your mom, and then your sister getting involved, and then Keon getting involved, and the whole thing, the way that it snowballed and everything. It's just been so awesome to watch you. So welcome to the porch today.
Thank you.
And we did your husband last week, so we thought that we would follow that up. We've never done a husband and wife tandem, so that way that you guys could both share. So let's just jump in. There's a part of your testimony that's so different than what anybody else has shared that I was thinking about when I was wanting to. So take us back into your life. And this, I don't know how much you want to or feel like you should or can, share about this part of your story. But I know that you guys were actually Jehovah's Witness for some time, and so you actually were you raised in a Christian environment before that, or is that the earliest religious experience that you can recall in your life?
My grandparents were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
My mom was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and I lived with my grandparents in my adolescence. And so they, instead of going to church, they went to the Kingdom Hall.
Right, okay.
And one of my earliest memories was thinking, what does Jehovah even mean? Because in some of the Bibles that I saw, it said God, some said Yahweh, and some said Jehovah. And it was perfect Sunday when you broke down like Jireh, Shalom, and the names of God, because that's what my current walk has taught me. Because in the past, I had so many questions as to who is God? What does it mean to be a Christian?
Yeah.
So being a Jehovah's Witness didn't answer that question. It was just, I had a fear of God because they kind of taught that only 144,000 make it to heaven. And that terrified me. I'm like, that's not a lot.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I don't like those odds either.
Yeah. But when me and Mom started coming to church, it's crazy that you mentioned the altar call, because that was the first time that I actually experienced the pull, kind of that heart tug. I didn't think I let you get to 3. It was like 1, 2.
No,
I think
you
I was
didn't. No,
halfway.
you're right. I remember. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, hey, you guys come down on the count or whatever, and you were already on the way down before I even got to the end of it.
It was like, don't wait, go get it. And my current walk has taught me that it's about a relationship with God. I don't know if Justin said, but we're in this group experiencing God. And it's just been amazing to learn how to develop a relationship with God, that He is a person that you can get closer to.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me when me and Justin were dating, it's like you want to spend time with him because you like him, you love him, you want to get to know more about him. So that's how my current walk with God is. I love him. I want to know more about him, and that's that's where I am now. And it's perfect to have a husband that's a Christian, because we share experiences, and he's had such a different background. He came from, his parents were married, and he was raised in church, and my parents, my mom pretty much raised us by herself.
Yeah.
And so we really didn't go to church. I didn't have that as my background. But our children and our future, that's what I want, is be in church, for them to have that relationship with God, to know that He's always there with them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do think a lot about the differences in your and Justin's upbringing, because Justin and I were so close, and I was able to, I know a lot about, how he came up. Great parents, great mom, great dad, church people, very dedicated, plugged into a church. Justin was probably one of those, like so many of us as we were growing up, was kind of drugged to church. Even if he didn't want to go, that was just kind of what his parents did. And then you, like you say, you on the other hand came from more of a broken home. And crazy enough, you're the norm, he's the exception. I mean, more people can relate to your upbringing than they can to his. And then I think about, the testimony that you guys have, you and your mom, and we're going to have your mom on here too. She's one of the ones that I really want to have on here, because she's got an amazing story of how God did kind of bring you out of that, Jehovah's Witness background, and you guys started to experience. Again, experience is the word. You just said it. That you guys started to have experiences with with something that was alive, something that wasn't just some dead religion, but it was actually, a God that you could fellowship with and commune with. And as you came out of that, did coming out of that type of mentality and going into where you are right now, like, what was the biggest obstacle for you to say, man, like you said, that now that you're in this place where you can have a relationship with God, and that He's a person, and you can talk to Him and He listens and He speaks back to you, and what was the hardest thing of shifting out of the mentality that you had versus where you are right now?
Just that mentality. I struggled with depression, anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was another thing I know about your testimony that people need to hear.
Yeah.
That's so important for people to hear.
And, counseling, I would never knock medication or counseling, but I've had, I was diagnosed manic depressant, what was it, severe anxiety. It was a diagnosis, not a sentence. Mm-hmm. It was... When I started studying the Bible and got into the Word and started listening to Christians, it taught me that I wasn't stuck there. It wasn't...
Yeah, come on.
It wasn't a life sentence. Like, I start feeling anxiety now, and I'm like, I rebuke it in the name of Jesus, because that's what you have to do. I kind of feel like when I had, fear rear its head, that was a way to keep me struggling in addiction, to keep me not speaking about it, kept me from wanting to sing or praise or lift my hand at church, and it was not of God. It's attacks of the enemy. And since being saved, those attacks have come almost nonstop.
Kept coming. Come on, that's the part of your story that people need to hear, because you did battle, again, Jehovah's Witness background, so you're coming out of a different faith, coming in, a whole mindset change. You battled depression, anxiety, all of those things. Addiction played a factor in all of it. And when you were saved, one of the things that they need to know is those attacks didn't stop.
Oh no, it got worse. And I mean, I've struggled, I've relapsed, and since been sober again. And it's kind of like, the reason I failed was God wasn't in it. I didn't put Him first. I had, when He was the foundation, that's why me and Justin, I've told him, I know that the devil doesn't want us together, because there's been so many things to come against our relationship and try to tear us apart. And he and I clung to God. There were times that he was like, there's something going to be said at church. And every time it related directly to what we were going through. And it was like, maybe God's trying to tell us something. And when we started listening, when I started listening, because I'm kind of stubborn, and I was like, I can do it myself. I'll just go to counseling. I'll do what the doctors say. And since I started listening to the Word and what God said, because His Word is final.
Yeah. Come on.
I no longer take medication.
Yeah.
Not knocking it. It does help
Exactly,
through a season,
yeah,
because
for
through
sure.
that addiction, it changes your chemical. It creates that chemical imbalance, mentally. But since coming off the medication, my anxiety's improved, my sleep's improved. Everything has gotten better, and that's something for somebody that struggles with that. I had self-doubt, and I'm like, even walking up here, I was like kind of nervous. I'm like, I'm going to mess this up somehow. And I'm like, no, God's with me. He's got me.
Yeah.
So not to have that fear. And when that fear starts to rear its head, go to God. And so when I prayed, He started taking that away from me. And it's like you have to redirect your focus. It's, I have to focus on God, because when those thoughts start to rear up, I think about the past stuff that I've done. I even question, I'm like, is, anything so unforgivable? And then I go into the Word, and I'm like, Jesus' disciples, their past.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if He can use murderers, tax collectors, those kind of people, it's like, and He can change them to walk with Him, why not me?
Come on.
And so
Well, it sounds like what you had to do, and the way that you're saying it is amazing. It sounds like that what for you the thing that helped you overcome all those things was just the Word. I mean, it was that it was that clear for you that the Word was showing you. Again, shame and guilt is so real. That is something that the church doesn't talk enough about shame and guilt that we continue to hold on to after you're talking about what you experienced after you were saved. This isn't before you were saved. This was after, and still shame and guilt trying to say you're not good enough. You can't be forgiven for all of these things. And then even the way that you were talking about, the stuff that you struggled with your depression, anxiety, again, not to knock at all, medications, doctors, God uses all of those things. But if you don't keep God in the middle of all of that, if He's not just in it, if He's not first, then even those things are going to fall short. He has to be the key to it all. And it's so great to hear somebody be real and honest about what it's like not before you're saved. A lot of people, when they tell testimony, a lot of people want to get up and talk about what it was like before I was saved, and my whole testimony is before saved, after saved. Few people tell testimony of after saved, of the struggle, the difficulty, the journey that you have to go through after you make that decision for Jesus. And the enemy, as you said, he hates you. He hates you. He hates your faith. He hates what you're growing in Jesus. He hates your marriage. You just said that. I think that's something people need to know. People need to understand that, listen, those struggles and those battles in a marriage, those aren't just things that just happen. That is the enemy. That is the attack of the enemy, because he hates your family. He wants to destroy your family. So it is so good, and it's a breath of fresh air to hear somebody talk about not what it was like before I was saved versus after I'm saved, but say, no, even after I'm saved, this is what God has done. This is what God has continued to show me. These are the areas I've had to continue to struggle, fight through, and God has grown me out of some of these things. So I think that's incredible. That's incredible. And then just the last few weeks for you, again, you've been through a lot of discipleship stuff lately. You went from Emmaus. Again, you're in the Experiencing God study with Trevin and that whole group. And, as you look back at, because what I see for you and Justin is like that the last few weeks have just been like a huge, just encouragement, build up. Like I said, I guess the best way I know to describe it is a few weeks ago I made the statement back in January that it's growth spurt time. I could just see that you and Justin have kind of been in a growth spurt season the last month or two. What you've been going through. Tell us a little bit about what you've been experiencing and learning in the last couple of months.
So much. It seems like the more answers that I get, the more questions I have. The walk to Emmaus was life-changing. I strongly advise anybody that calls himself a Christian to go on the walk, because for me, it taught me so much. I had never heard the word prevenient grace, and that was just mind-boggling. I'm like, you mean to tell me God loved me before any of the bad stuff?
Come on.
So, and it was kind of like when, and I met some amazing people that just really poured into me, that were not just friends, but Christian friends, and that would pray with me. And I mean, I could text anybody right now, like right before I came over here, I text my, some of the girls and women, and I was like, please, just say a prayer. Prayer is appreciated. And it's nice to have, it's like you said, a discipleship.
Yeah.
And we're the body of Christ, and we have to be together. Like that was one thing that the depression and anxiety, it made me isolate.
Absolutely.
It made me not want to go to church.
That's one of the enemy's attacks is isolation. and you're talking about something right now that is at the very fiber of what I try to teach every single week, and that is until we have placed Jesus people around us, Spirit-filled people around us, God people around us, it is so hard to take this journey. Yes. Without those people, and I would borderline say impossible. I try not to use the word impossible too carelessly, but man, you have to have those people in your life. That like you said, even today, something as simple as, man, I'm about to go share a little bit of my story. Would you pray for me? And that's huge. That's huge.
And it's something that not a lot of people have.
Right.
And I'm grateful for it. I feel like I no longer take it for granted that I have God with me. And even though, when I was going through those struggles, to know that God was there, that he was in it, when I turned my back on him, he didn't turn his back on me. That was major. That was life-changing for me, because I'm like, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me.
Yeah. And
that was my dad's favorite verse. And I just recently like, why does that keep crossing my mind? And I, on the days that I get sad, I have to remember I believe it's in Romans, the transformation of the mind.
Yeah.
That was
Romans 12.
Romans 12, yeah. I keep getting confused with Romans 8.
No,
I'm going to go back and study that too,
that
because
transform mind
do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be renewed by the transforming of the mind, and so that we can know God's will. Because my mind, I doubt myself. I'm like, should I do this? Is this God's will? And that's something that the people in church, it's like, we're learning and experiencing God, that God speaks through Bible, prayer, and church members. And I have to listen to what people are telling me, because I do believe that God uses people to speak into our lives.
Yeah.
Because God has used my husband. There's been so many times where he has, grabbed my hand and said a prayer that is so powerful. And it just helps strengthen our relationship, not only with each other, but with God.
Yeah.
And with him being at the foundation of our relationship, it's like, it just reminds me of God is with us and who can be against us. And that helps me, just alleviates the fear of it.
Yeah,
it takes
that's
away
exactly
that
right.
worry.
Yeah. That's why I tell people, until you tap into and understand what the will of God is for your life, it is hard to press through some things. But when I know the will of God is going to prevail, in Romans 12, for example, Paul says it this way: it is his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So if I can understand, if I can have the revelation of the will of God for my life, take hold of it and hold on to it, and understand that will is good, pleasing, and perfect, then no matter what I go through, I can hold on. I say, no, but I'm going to hold on to and trust the will of God. And I love that. I think that's amazing. And then the other thing that you said, prevenient grace. What a powerful concept. And for me, that it always takes me back to the person of Peter, that Jesus knew ahead of time that Peter was going to deny him. We know that because he told him beforehand. So Jesus knew these things were going to happen, but yet it was still Peter that Jesus said to him, on this I will build my church. So before Peter ever failed, Jesus knew he was going to fail, but yet he still said, I'm going to build my church with you. So I just think that is absolutely amazing, and that is awesome. And I just love your story. I love your passion. I love your heart. I love how hungry you are right now. Say something about that, like what it is to just be hungry for God in a time.
To just want to do what he wants me to do is I want to learn more. I want to be obedient and knowing his will and raising my children and for them to have a relationship, to walk with him, to know that he's there with them every step of the way. And I've had a couple of people tell me that I need to sing. And that was something that I was like, just because I can sing doesn't mean I need to be on the stage. And it's like, is that God's will? And
This is the first time that has ever happened when we recorded.
That noise right there.
All right, we're back after the trash truck just came through, so we took a little bit of a break. We're back. So back to the question I was asking you as the trash truck was coming by. Man, you know, one of the things that you're saying over and over and that I'm thinking about is just how hungry, you know, you are right now. And, you know, sometimes we go through these seasons of hunger where we're just so hungry for God. And, you know, being able to just partake and to, you know, to consume as much as we can of him during those hungry seasons, it's very important. And that's what you're in the middle of right now. So as you're in this season of hunger, like, what does that feel like? And, you know, what advice would you give to somebody who's as hungry as you are right now? And Justin as well, you're fortunate you have it together with your husband. So that's awesome to see.
It's about progress, not perfection, is what comes to my mind. And a friend told me, and I want to quote her right, but she said that you cannot teach what you do not know, and you cannot lead where you will not go.
That's right.
And for a person that's hungry, learn.
Come on.
Go.
There you go.
You know, having that hunger is is the driving force of building a relationship. Just like I wanted to get to know Justin better, you know, to get closer to him. And now that I want to get closer with God, I've cracked the seal on my Bible. You know, I find myself, Google is a great resource too.
Yeah.
Searching different translations, learning the names of God, that he's Jehovah Jireh to some and Shalom to others, that peace when you have turmoil in your life. Because right now I'm in a season of peace and I'm just reveling in it, and it's God-given. So for anybody that's hungry, seek his face, turn to him, pray. If you can't find your voice, reach out to someone in the church to pray with you. I have, you know, some friends that I'll text, you know, pray for me, because sometimes my words fail me. And just don't lose that hunger, because it's so easy sometimes to just burn out. And that was something that was a struggle for me, is, you know, I had that hunger and it's like, let's do this and let's go here. And it's keeping that steady desire to want to pursue a relationship with God, and to have people around you that have that same goal in mind is really important.
That's
I've learned
exactly
that.
right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, man, thank you so much for just talking with me today and sharing a little bit about your story and what you're going through and what you've been through. An amazing story of, again, coming out of a completely different faith altogether, and you know, going through those battles with depression, anxiety, going through battles of addiction, and God just bringing so much in you. What I look at you and I see just the perfect picture of restoration.
Amen.
That's what I see when I see you. I see your marriage. They were praying for a home about a year ago at this time, and God blessed them with their first home that they were able to purchase. Jobs. I can remember praying with you for jobs, and here you are. You got a good job, love your job. They're sending you out. You just got back from a week of training for your job, and I just see so many things in your life where God has just provided this restoration for you of everything it felt like you didn't have. God has given it to you. And I just think that's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. And so, man, listen, I know there's a lot about her story that there are so many of you that can relate to. And again, the most refreshing thing to hear her talk about today was talking about this was after I was saved. This was after I was saved. And I'm so glad to hear somebody say that and just be honest about life after salvation and still having to go through those battles with the enemy and the things that he's trying to do. So listen, if you're here and you are going through that, I want you to know that you are not alone. This is a story right here that is letting you know you are not alone. I'm somebody that can tell you, you are not alone in that. And we just have to stay hungry and stay focused. And as she said so wonderfully earlier, get in the Word. Let the Word speak to you in your situation and what you're going through. Get the right people around your life. All of that was just so practical. That's not just some spiritual mumbo jumbo. I mean, that's like get down, get your hands in the dirt, make it practical. These are some of the things that I do. And I'm just so proud of you, Marilyn. That's the word that I may have said that about Justin as well, but I'm so proud of you. As I look back, I guess it's been about 5 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago, that you and I were able to meet on that Sunday and to watch what you've done and seen how you've grown and what God has done in your life. I'm just so proud to be a part of it and to watch it. And we love you and your family, your husband, your mom, your sister, your brother-in-law, all that stuff, man. We love all of you guys so much, and we're just so grateful to have you in our life. And I'm just grateful that you could share a little bit of your story today, because that's going to be a big help for somebody out there.
Okay.
So we love you. And thank you guys for watching and being a part of White Porch Conversations today. We always tell you, if there's anything that you want to know, a comment, question, testimony, prayer request, if you want to ask Marilyn anything, listen, comments, send us in an email, call us at the office, whatever it is that we can do. We just want to serve you guys. But it's so great to be able to share with you these stories on the White Porch. And hope you have a great Thursday night. And we will be back next Thursday for White Porch Conversations. Have a great night.
The White Porch Conversations.